Hi, I am Balaji Chippada and welcome back to my channel. In continuation of our Python series for data science, in today's video, we will learn the most important data structure in Python called lists. We will understand how you can define a list and what are all the methods that are available to manipulate or transform lists. We will also learn about list comprehension as well. If you haven't watched our previous videos, please do check the playlist named Python for data science. So without any delay, let's get started. Now, let's understand lists. Lists are a versatile and a mutable data structure that can hold a collection of elements. I will explain what is mutable and immutable in a bit, but let's go with the flow. And it is just a collection of elements that are enclosed within the square brackets. Whatever you write inside this will be treated as a list in Python. Whenever you want to define a list, you open and close a square bracket, and inside this you add your elements. For example, I created a list here by opening a square parenthesis and adding elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I close the parenthesis. Okay, and every element will be separated by a comma. This is mandatory. So one element 1 comma element 2 comma element 3 comma element 4 comma element 5. This is how you define a list. What if there is only one element in the list? You can just say element 1 and then you can close the parenthesis. This is how you define a list. And one more thing is, a list can contain any kind of data types. If you see, all of these are numerical data in nature, but I can just add a string to the list along with an integer, along with a float, and along with a string, or else I can add complex data type. This is the power of list. You can add as many different data types as possible inside a single list, and it will be acceptable and valid as well. Now let's execute these cells. So my list got executed and without any issues because it is a valid list statement. Now I give execute this one which contains strings, integers, float, and also another string. When I do a print of mylist.to, we can see everything is printed because it is also a valid statement. Now, just like strings, we have indexing as well. Now let's take a list, my list, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as we already learned in the previous session, whenever we are indexing any data structure inside Python, indexing starts with 0. Give me a minute. Indexing starts with 0 and index 1, index 2, index 3, and index 4. So when I am accessing my list of index 0, what it will return is the element that is corresponding to this index, it will return as an output. So for this, output will be 1. And if I say my list of 2, it will return the element that is corresponding to the index 2. It will return the element 3 as an output. Hope that is clear. Now execute this. So we got the output. Now, initially I talked about mutable and immutable, right? If I say my list of 0, my list of 0 is basically the index 0 element, which will be the value as 1 usually, if you see here. But what I'm saying is, in place of index 0, add a value of 5. We are overwriting the value. Now let me explain this. So initially we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and their index are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what I'm saying here is my list of 0 equal to 5. That means I want to replace this element with 5 and remaining everything will be same as it is. So what the updated list will be, this will be the updated my list. As we were able to modify the elements after its declaration, this is what we call it as mutable. Then what is immutable? If any data structure is immutable, that means you cannot modify any of these elements after you declare the variable. That is what mutable and immutable means. Now let's execute this. And if I say the first element got replaced with value 5.0 because I have given 5 dot, if I remove this, it will be treated as an integer 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can change the fourth index to any string as well. There are no restrictions in how you can modify your list because these are mutable. And just like strings, we have list slicing as well. What is slicing? Now I want to access some part of my list with using its index. So as we learned in the previous session, whenever we are saying 1 is to 4, that means your index will start at 1 and your index will end at 4, but the output doesn't include the element that corresponds to the end index. If you take 5, 2, 3, 4 Balaji, and if you do indexing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and if I want to get retrieve 1 is to 4 output, the index will start at 2, and then after that 4 is this index, but we will not include this value, so we will get output as 2, 3, 4. Now let's execute, and I am saving the output in a sublist, so this is also a list. Hope that is clear. If you have any queries so far in this session, please let me know in the comment section below. I'm just printing my list. And one of the important thing is how you can reverse a list. Let's say this is my list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How I can reverse the elements in this list? One method is called reverse. You can call this function or method. By default, it will reverse the list and it will save in the same my list parameter or variable. If I execute this, my list is reversed 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now you can ask me, is there any other way that we can reverse the list? Yes. Now let's say this is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we already learned if it is 1 is to 4 or some x comma x is to y, the first one is start and last one is end, and we will not include the end one. Now what we say is we want all the elements, this indicates all the elements, and we give -1. We learned about -1, right, in the strings. If you haven't watched our strings video, please do watch it out. If I say specify -1, that means get me all the elements in reverse order. That is what -1 indicates. -1 indicates in the reverse order. Now let's execute this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can check 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right? Cool. Let's print my list first. Print my list. Now we have this my list as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now in this first line, what I'm saying is change the value of the index 1 to 10. So here the output will be 1, 10, 3, 4, 5. Is that clear? Okay. Now what is append does? What append does is it will add this element at the end of the list. So this output will be 1, 10, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. And then we have another method called list.remove. What it does is it will find out the element that we passed through and it will remove this element from the list. So this output will be 1, 10, 4, 5, 6. Is that clear? Cool. Now let's execute this. You see 1, 10, 4, 5, and 6. Now the next topic is list concatenation. Concatenation is basically addition of two lists, not like element wise addition, but addition of two lists side by side. Now execute this. We are saying we defined a list 1 as 1 comma 2 comma 3 and list 2 as 3 comma 5 comma 6, and we are saying combined list equal to list 1 plus list 2. So if you see, we have same element in list 1 and same element in list 2. Will the concatenation modify these elements? Let's execute and cross check it. 1, 2, 3, this is our list 1, and 3, 5, 6, this is our list 2. So concatenation doesn't modify your native list. Whatever you give them as an input, it will be added side by side into a single list. That is what a concatenation does. Hope that is clear. Now let's say I want to create a list in which I need to replicate all the elements as zeros, and I want 100 times the zeros. Do I need to sit and type my zeros 100 times? No, you don't need to do that. There is this feature called list repetition, in which you declare your base element and you multiply that with how much length you want. Here I'm saying specifying 30, and if I execute this, by default it will give you the element as the element that you defined, and 30 times it will print automatically. You don't need to do these tasks manually. And then here, let's say I have this much big list. How can I get the length of the list? Exactly, right? We learned this in strings as well. We have another function called length, and you pass the list and it will give you the length. So my list is 1, 10, 4, 5, 6, in which 5 elements are present. So the output is 5. Hope that is clear. And then nested list. What if I want to add a list inside a list? Because initially I mentioned that lists are very powerful and you can add different kind of data types inside a list. Well, you can definitely do it. Now let's see, here I have four lists. So this is a list 1, and this is another list, list 2, and this is another list, list 3, and this is another list, list 4. If you see, all of this list 1, list 2, list 3 elements are numerical data types, and list 4 is a mixed data type in which we have numerics and then we have strings as well. We can create list of lists as a nested list, and it is completely valid, and you can execute this as well without any issues, right? And we can add any number of lists inside lists. We call them as nested lists. Now, how do you access the elements inside nested lists? Just like before, the first element will be an index 0, and second element will be an index 1, third element at index 2, fourth element at index 3, right? And because each of the element inside a nested list is also a list, we can give indexes to each of the lists separately. So it would be 0 index, 1 index, 2 index for this list, and this is 0, 1, and 2 for this list, 0, 1, 2, and for this list 0, 1, 2 for this list. Now what if I want to get this value out of the nested lists? So what I can do is, let me create a new code cell, nested list. If you see nested list of this element is in the index of 2 for the first nested list, and then inside that list we have the index as 1, right, for this element. So if you execute this cell, you will get 8 as an output. This is how you index nested lists. Now let's take an example of this one. 1 comma 2 is 1 comma 2 is basically in the first index element of nested list. Inside that list, what is the second index element? It is 6. Any doubts so far? Please let me know in the comment section. I will reply to each and every one of you. Now let's understand some of the popular methods of lists. So we have my list as 1, 10, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. In the first line, we are saying list dot append 7. As we learned previously, what append does is it will append the given element at the end of the list. What if I want to append or add a value at a certain index? Can I do it? Yes, definitely. That is where insert comes into picture. What it is saying is insert an element 15 at the index 2. Now let's write index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What we are saying is at the index 2 position, add the value 15. So the output would be 1, 10, and 15, and continue the remaining list. This is what insert does. And pop of 3, what does pop do is at the given index remove that element. So let's get the index again, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Index 3 is this value, and this will be removed from the list. So the output would be 1, 10, 15, 5, 6, and 7, because we popped this element from the index number 3. So this will be the resultant my list. And we are saying list dot remove 4. What it technically does is it will search for the element 4 in the given list, and it will remove the element. If 4 is not present, then it will throw an error. Now let's execute all of this. Now let's execute all of this. If you see, I have this much as a my list, and if I am adding 7, or by using append method, 7 will be added at the last, and I'm inserting 15 at the index 2. So at index 2 we got 15 again, because there is already 15, we are adding one more 15, and then we are popping the element at the index 3. If you see, 115 is removed because we did a pop, and then we did list dot remove because element 4 is not present in the list. We got value error. Debugging in Python is really easy. We just need to read it like an English. List comprehension. This is also an important topic in lists. Right now, you might not understand this code because this requires understanding of loops. But don't worry, I will explain these loops in detail in the later videos. So let's say I want to create a list in which those are squares of the numbers in the range of 0 to 5 or 0 to 4. So we have a function called range of 5. What it does is it returns values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 until 5, but not 5, and starting from 0. And x, for x in range of 5, that means for each value of x as x equal to 0, x equal to 1, x equal to 2, x equal to 3, and x equal to 4, square those numbers. X star star 2 means square those numbers. I will explain all of these in detail in later videos, but let's go with this. Now what I'm saying is, create a list in which the numbers are in the range of 0 to 4 and get all the squares of those numbers, and we got the output. So 0 is 0 square, 1 is 1 square, 4 is 2 square, 9 is 3 square, and 16 is 4 square. This is how you use list comprehensions. And that's all for this video. And if you are liking what you are watching, please do subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified daily. We'll meet you in the next video. Bye bye.